Hi, my name is Ben Sharples. I'm a DP and photographer from Massachusetts. Today I'll be showing you how I scan and process my own film photography. Today I'll be using 35mm film. I shot this on a FE with like a 50mm lens, and I think it is Fuji Superior 400 ISO film. It's like cheap film. You can get it around like $5-6 a roll. For starters, I'm using Silverfast 8, which is a pretty rock solid scanning software. I've used Epson Scan, View Scan, and then now Silverfast. Been shooting film for about 4 to 5 years, mostly 35. I just picked up a 120 film camera. So at the end of this video, you should be able to see about 2 methods that I feel work best for color film. And it'd be up to you which one you want to choose, and both have their positives and negatives. Over the years, I've kind of come to conclusions on certain ones, and right now, at this moment, I prefer using Negative Lab Pro and scanning positives. But it really depends on the film stock you're using and situations that you're shooting your film stock in, and how you're editing it and how you're scanning it. There's a lot of permutations. So for starters, open up Silverfast. I go to positive, 48 to 24 bit. You just delete all frames, so it's completely reset, and you'll see all the settings in Silverfast are saved to each frame. So this right now is 1 frame. So just leave it as is, and you can load in your film. Make sure your color film is facing, the information on the film strip is facing opposite to you. So if you read Fuji Superior 400, it needs to be backwards facing you as you're putting it on the scanner. So it would be facing normal back towards down the scanner. For me, I tend to just use the normal Epson film strips holder that it comes with. I also have a strip of A&R glass, which illuminates Newton rings when you put the film right on the glass. But it also works well as a sliding right into the Epson holder. So sometimes I'll put the 35mm film in the holder, and then I put the A&R glass over, and it keeps it completely flush. I mean, even if you don't have that, you can easily use a bit of paper on either end to press in between the snap-on holder. So otherwise, set the pre-scan. Okay, so right here I have about five 35mm frames. I'm actually interested in taking one of these and making it into a small print, so I'm gonna go after that one first. So click and drag the frame selector right here, and you're just gonna want to hover around the borders right about there. And then we can just do a zoom in right here. You just click this button. So here it gives me the full preview scan. I actually love this because not a lot of softwares do this. I'm pretty sure if you scan Epson, they'll do this as well. And I can easily now just see everything clearly. So I can just drag in my borders and get it perfect. And since I'm going to be taking this to Lightroom and I'm going to convert it with Negative Lab Pro, I need some of these borders in there just in case. I can already see some dusting, but it's nothing major. So if you go over here and I go to the destination where I want to put the files, I have a simple structure like this where I disregard the plugins folder, but I have it by years that I've been shooting. And 2020, these are like all the various trips, or usually, I mean, most people when we shoot film, we end up shooting the whole film in one day. So it usually comes down to a location. So this is New Hampshire, Francona, the Francona range in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. It's a great area. So I'm going to go over to the YouTube video, which we're working on right now. And I have it as Insta, LRC, which is Lightroom, and then TIFFs. So I'm going to go right over to TIFFs. I'm just going to put it here because it's going to scan me a positive TIFF. I find organizing your photos into a location base or project base and then going in and then just put them in subfolders based on the file format that they're at. I find that's the easiest way to do it. And when you archive your film and you put them in film sheets, just write the same name that you have for that folder on the sheet and then put the sheet in, because most sheets will fit a whole roll of film, especially if it's 36 shots. I'm just gonna do IMG for image. It's just gonna auto number it. And then right here for resolution, since this is gonna be a print, I'm gonna go higher. So I'm gonna go 3200 PPI. A lot of the work for me turning this into print might be in a future video, but for now, I'm gonna do 3200 PPI. And don't worry about this preset right here. It just says 300 PPI, but it doesn't matter. It's actually gonna scan it at 3200. And you'll see right here, it's giving me an estimate file size. So down here, this is an important thing. I saw this in a Nick Carver video. I mean, you should definitely check out Nick Carver's channel if you're a fan of film photography. So right here, go to unsharp masking. It's gonna put a unsharp mask on this. It's gonna try to sharpen the negative. But what happens here is it's not as good as what you can get out of, like, let's say Lightroom or Photoshop. So I would get rid of that. We don't want to adjust anything on the exposure at all for this positive. We want to keep it as is. And then you could use this if you're converting it to color. This is the dust removal software. This works great. I'll show you this later in the video, but for now you don't want to use this on the positive because it'll cause issues. And yeah, so this is good to go. And then just head over to, you can scan right here, scan over here, give it a scan, and we'll zoom ahead. Alright, so when it's done, you'll see right here, you can just click this box, it'll pop right up. I mean, by the way, I'm on Windows, so some of this stuff might be different for you Mac users out there. But that looked completely clean to me. So now I'm gonna go over to Lightroom, make a catalog for this. I mean, your Lightroom organization is your own right. And then go to import. I think it had it. Oh, that's the wrong one. So 2020, NH Francona, open this up, YouTube video, TIFFs, it's right there. I'm just gonna do a 1-to-1 preview. Just takes a second on this machine. Import. All right, so this is good. I don't need to do any rotation. So as we can see, here we go. If we zoom in, everything's looking pretty good. So here's where people disagree on the use of Negative Lab Pro. This negative has to get white balanced. So there's multiple ways I can do this. So this software up here, Negative Lab Pro, it's a plugin that you can buy. You can easily look it online. It's about $100. It's totally worth the money, 100% worth the money. If you're regularly shooting film and you're not a fan of converting in scanning software, whether it's Silverfast, ViewScan, or Epson Scan, this is the next best thing. This will do it. So you can do TIFF scan prep right here. Let me pull this over. You have all these options. I'm gonna go with Epson Scan Mac, which is basically just importing an Epson gamma, which is what I just scanned with an Epson scanner. And I can hit make. And it's basically just copying and making another big TIFF file and then auto converting it. And you go to all photographs over here, and then here we go. So for Negative Lab Pro to work at the best, you want the borders out of the way. So there's a shortcut for Negative Lab Pro. You can do Control-Alt-N if you're on PC. I think it's Control-Command-N on Mac. And then here we go. I gotta get rid of that black and white. So you have your source right here, which is a TIFF scan, color module. I go with Frontier, which is, in my opinion, the best looking scan preset on here. And then pre-saturation, I'm just gonna do default 3. And if I had the borders in there, I could put like a 5% of the image border buffer or whatever. But it's so easy to just do the conversion now, and then you can just go over to the crop and crop back out to the borders. So I'm gonna convert negatives. And voila. So I have a lot of settings in here, so I'm going to reset. You can go to something like all softs if you wanted to really start from a nice base, but I find linear deep is actually a very strong starting point. So let me save this for now. I'll come back to this in a second. But I've actually noticed recently that I get the best results not using the TIFF scan prep, and then I would just do this. So I'd go in, and then I go to white balance right here, and I go to auto. And this looks a lot different than what the negative was just at. And now I'm going to do Control Alt and again pull up negative lab. Same thing, Frontier 3 default pre-saturation. I'm going to convert the neg. And I'm going to reset this. I'm going to go to linear deep. You can fiddle with the soft highs and lows. I mean, if you just, it's hard to see with the YouTube compression, but it is a subtle look. Me personally, I'm actually not really fond of the all soft, like pastel, overexposed look that we commonly see on Instagram. So here I'm gonna make it a little more contrasty, I guess. Pull the darks in a bit. And the whites, make rid of those highs. And down here, you can do the midtones, highlights, shadows, and adjust the color balance of each. I've noticed that this is very iffy. So if I go over to the mids and I start to pull in some green, it starts to happen very rapidly. It entirely depends on the negative that you're using, but some of them will just entirely break once you start messing with them. I was getting some extreme magenta cast on a old Fujifilm roll recently. This was also the fall season in New Hampshire, so this is all autumn trees up here. So that exaggerated reddish orange look is kind of something I dig for this time of season. So down here, they have the sharpen settings. If you just hit that blue zoom, you can see it. There's off. And then there's lab scan. I've actually noticed recently that this sharpen by them is actually not that strong. So I'm gonna go to off. I'm gonna hit apply. By the way, these corrections here, that was very quick. I mean, I could spend all day in the negative lab settings, but I'm not gonna bore you with that. So I do have some marks here that are dust marks that I gotta get rid of. But I've noticed recently that removing dust marks and adding sharpness is a lot better done in Photoshop. So I'm gonna go up to photo, edit in right here, and then just edit in Photoshop. Edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments. It's gonna carry the Lightroom adjustments. Let's hit edit. Gonna pull it up. We gotta full screen it. All right, here we go. So now we're in here. So for starters, go to filter, sharpen, and then we'll do smart sharpen. And this is pretty immediate. You can, if I zoom in, you should be able to see it. You just look at the top right here. There's off and on. And something like these trees over here, you might be able to really notice it. I'm not one to fiddle with sharpening settings a lot, so right now I'm just gonna leave it on. And it's simple as just going over here to this spot removal tool right here, zooming right in, get your size about roughly where it should be, and you can just go right through the negative and remove. Simple as that. This is usually the part that people hate the most. And you can just start having a grand old time removing dust off a negative. I definitely recommend listening to a podcast or your favorite album while you scan your film and remove dust all day long. I mean, again, you can be a scientist and use a duster and be very, very precise with removing dice before it even gets on the scanner. But sometimes, let's be honest, we're not feeling it. So, when this is done, oh, saw one more right there. This is looking pretty good. I dig it. Let's say we're done. We're feeling good about this image, and now we want to shoot it to Instagram. Well, let's do that. Go over to export. I'm gonna do the good old JPEG on this one. I got it right here. I got a JPEG quality 100. Export. And I'm gonna shoot it to right where I just had it. So I'm gonna go YouTube video Francona. I got LRC, TIFFs, and Insta. I'm not ready for the Insta one yet. So I'm gonna go type one in. I'm gonna do JPEGs. I'm gonna save it. And it's gonna shoot out. Alright. I could make the Insta file in here, but I'm gonna make it in another software that I've actually started to really like, which I want to show you guys, which is this. This is Figma. It's a free design software, and it is a freaking joy to use. So I'm gonna go over down here. I'm gonna go to Instagram, which I've already started on my catalogs here. I mean, if you go on anyone's Instagram nowadays, especially photographers, you'll notice we tend not to just use a full screen image. We tend to just do like the white gram, where you have more possibilities for framing and aspect ratios and stuff like that. Because sometimes you shoot a 35 frame and like you want it in a 4x5 size, or you want it in a panorama size, and you want to crop in and out. Or when you're stuck to just the Instagram size, you cannot really play with that as much. Pretty much everything has to get zoomed up to size, which in my opinion just drives me crazy. So I'm gonna do a new file right here. Up top, I'm gonna do NH Franconia mount. Right here you can click this frame icon up top, and right here they have it for you, easy. If you were going to do this in Photoshop, it's just a little more annoying because you got to go into Photoshop and plug in the exact numbers and everything, or save a preset. To me, it's just easy to come in here and just do 10, 20, 30 images. Like, let's say I scan 3 or 4 rolls that day, and I'm happy with a bunch of images, and I want to go post them on Instagram eventually. I'm going to drag them all in here. I'm going to make a bunch of them. So right here, I'm going to go to Instagram post, which is 1080 by 1080. Down here, I'm just gonna make the background darker because I want to actually see the frames. And I can just go over to File Explorer. I'm gonna drag it in a second. It's right here. Just gonna pull it in. And I really like this because if I zoom out, it's Control and mouse out, by the way, to zoom out on Figma. If I get this photo out of here, right? And I put it right there. That's my TIFF file. It is 4096 by 2746. This is Instagram, 1080 by 1080. This is the, I don't want to get on a rant, but this right here is why photographers like myself don't really like Instagram, because as a delivery format, it's like we're just limiting ourselves. Like, this is 35mm frame. I can get this printed probably up to like 11 by 14, 8 by 10 print. Someone can stand next to it and just see it for what it is. But I now have to downsize it. So shift, click, and drag. Oh, do that again. All right, I'm gonna zoom in on this. I'm gonna get it like about to edge. All right, over here, just easy align it up. You don't need to you don't need to mess around with rasterizing layers and fucking with all that in Photoshop. I mean, this is just as simple as dragging in the photo, aligning it immediately, and we're good to go. So right over here, I'm gonna go to rectangle. Just gonna drag this in, and it just auto locks onto it, easy enough. It is gray. I want it black, of course. and now it is at the exact size of the image. So like I said, I went from a 4,000 horizontal image to a 10,030 image. So we're already a fourth of the quality. So I do a 5-point frame, 5-point black frame on my images. So see, it's about 1030. So I'm gonna do 1035, of course. And then good old math over here, we got a 691, so it's 696. Now, just simple enough, align and align. Go over to here to the layers, drag it under. Hold on a second. That does not look about right. Let me try that again. Oh, look at that. I didn't get it right. So it's 696 right now. So I need to go to 701. Oh, I need to completely do this over again. Wow, what a depressing display. So I'm gonna go to about here, line it up again. 1035. 696. That should be it. Send it. Make it black. I'm seeing a large black line here. I think I might have had a mess up, guys. That's weird. It's not appearing on the Photoshop file. Oh. That is very strange. Is this not aligned? Well, accidents happen, I guess. But as simple as that, I don't know what's happening here. I can't tell you at the moment, but you would have it here, and you could just duplicate a bunch of these and drag in all your images, put black spaces behind them, and you can have a whole row. So as you'll see here, here's a bunch of Instagram images. They're all good to go. It's my buddy Tom. And they all have 5-point black frames on them. And as simple as this, all I have to do is shift click all these frames, go down to here, export. I can do JPEG and then export 900% JPEGs immediately. To me, this is a lot faster and a lot more intuitive and snappier than using this many artboards in, let's say, Photoshop or Illustrator, because then the computer starts to chug along because it's rendering things at full. Figma is more of like a design brainstorming tool, so you kind of drag stuff in really quickly. If you look up here, all the tools are very rudimentary, but I mean, we're making white Instagram files with background, so it's really simple. We just drag in the image, put it on, and on my Instagram, I haven't noticed any resolution drops or anything. It looks pretty much exactly the same, and it's about the exact same file size as when I used to do this in Photoshop. But to me, I'm just craving ways to make my scanning film process just so much faster and just a breeze. I mean, I love film, don't get me wrong, but if you spend a lot of time scanning negatives, or you just spend a lot of time not shooting, especially digital, when you're just editing photos all the time, it starts to get to you after a while, and it's just, personally, I don't think photography is all about being at the computer screen. I think we have to be out there and experience things and try to be shooting most of the time and not editing all the time. Because I mean, we can get better, we can get technically better at editing, but at the end of the day, we're at a screen, and it becomes extremely exhausting, and it's really not what it's all about. And you don't want to get to that point where for your look, it requires you to put in hours and hours on the screen. I mean, as long as I can get a good look or something I'm really happy with in camera on film, and then I get the scan back, and like that, it's just a pop of color, and I'm really happy with it. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for being a computer wizard, so to speak. So that right there was Silverfast to Negative Lab to Instagram. But I can backtrack and I want to show you the Silverfast method, which actually cuts in half what we just did for the Negative Lab, and actually I think is actually quicker. But it has its downsides and its upsides. So let's go back to Silverfast. I'm gonna go over to here. I'm gonna zoom out. I'm gonna delete this frame. And then now I gotta go to a negative right here. So I have a negative, it's 48-bit by 24-bit. We're gonna do a pre-scan again, just in case. We're gonna give it a minute. Ah, the wonder of waiting for scans. So for Silverfast to recognize the frame, we do something similar. So we want to go right inside of the frame, right here. Right about there is nice. I'm going to do a zoom again. So once the zoom in scan happens, you now want to pull it to the outer edges of the frame. But now we go down to here. By the way, we got to make sure that this is all the same again, because it tends to reset every time you do a new scan. So 2020 Francona, we go to YouTube video. We're going to go to the TIFFs and we're going to put it in there. And this is going to be the image Silverfast. Spell it right. All right, so 3200, we're going to the TIFF file folder. Leave this alone for now, but go down to here. So get rid of the masking again. We have Negafix. So this is the really great part about Silverfast. So if you want to skip Negative Lab Pro, you don't want to, let's say you don't want to fork over the $100 and you got your hands on Silverfast for free. Let's say you have like an Epson V600 or V550, something like that. I'm pretty sure the license is probably like $80, something like that. Go over to here, pick your film stock, well, your film comp brand, and then now here's your film stocks. So this was Superior, and then I shot on 400, and right away it's starting to shift right in. But now right here we have the tolerance level. You can adjust this. As you can see, if you go all the way down, you'll see it just complete blends out. It kind of affects the highlights. It's kind of just like blasting in color. I think something past 50, from 50 on to 100 is usually the good spots. It depends on the image. I mean, literally just shift it and get a hang for it. You can turn the sat up and get a really crazy look with this one. Contrast controls are right here. Midtones, stuff like that. Your histogram is down here. You can do this right here, which might work. The color cast removal. Let me see. That didn't really work. I'm gonna try the auto color cast removal right here. Yeah, it's just about the same. So something like this image is like very strong with the purple hues coming in somehow. So I actually would have to clean this up elsewhere unless I can control it right here with the global CC. So if you click here, you're affecting the whole image. And obviously I'm in magenta right now. Like, just look at the sky. So I can just tap green and just bring in some green on this image. Right about there is not bad. I can go to the shadows and make the shadows a little blue. Or make them a little warmer. Yeah. We'll go to highlights. Make them nice and bright. Yellowish. So this is where I start to get annoyed with Silverfast, because these controls are nice at the outset. They look like they're nice, but when you have an image that comes in with a strong cast like this, you can fiddle with it for a while, but the more you pull away color and the more you shift things around, you start to get some very serious diminishing returns. And you might be able to tell from the screen right now that this image is kind of more like neutral than what we have here, which was, this was the Negative Lab Pro. This kind of has like a more natural pop to it. Like the skies are already blue, the trees are already coming in green, we're already getting the autumn and blue and stuff like that. And you saw me, I mean, it was minimal adjustments in Lightroom. So I'll go back over to Silverfast right here. But this is the cool part. So I can go to the ISRD right here. I can do dust and scratch removal. I'm gonna put that on because this is actually a converted negative that it's gonna scan. So the software actually works well going in here, removing all these little spots right here. And I just want to make sure I don't have the sharpening on. I mean, I can just adjust this just a tad before I get rid of it. But you pump up the exposure a bit. But I'm just gonna scan this. I'm gonna go with this right now. I'm gonna hit scan. And it's gonna scan the whole image. It's gonna do the dust removal. And just like that, I mean, I already have a converted negative that I'm scanning out. I mean, I do have a color cast going on. I mean, I can now bring this into Photoshop, try to remove the cast. But just for time's sake, I'm gonna bring it into Photoshop. I'm gonna throw that sharpening on it, and we can just look at them side by side. What I've noticed over, I mean, I've scanned a lot of rolls recently for a project coming up, and I've noticed that cheaper film stocks, they tend to not play so well with the negative fix within Silverfast, because I think the profiles aren't as finely tuned, because I'll put something in like Portrait 400 and it's like, bam, it just works immediately. What I've noticed scanning with Silverfast is that the cheaper film stock, like this, the Fuji Superior 400, I mean, I literally bought this at a CVS before we hiked this mountain. It doesn't play as well with Silverfast, but the cheaper film stocks tend to play a lot better with Negative Lab Pro. I mean, to be fair, you could probably get the exact same results with either method, but most of us won't admit, but we don't want to spend hours on end adjusting color contrast and color casts on our images. We just want to have a system that works nice and quick. So it's a decision you have to make. It probably depends on the role. That's the point I'm at right now, where I think I prefer the Negative Lab automatic pop that it gives you, but then also there may be some roles I shoot in the future that I want this like naturalistic tone that I kind of get out of Silverfast, and Silverfast kind of makes it a lot easier. Like the scan just finished, and then now this image, I'm gonna pull it up right now. It's like I said, look, if you look side by side. Now let me back that out of the way for a second. Right there, we have dust there, dust there, dust there, dust there. If you look at the negative, it's not here at all. Where is it? I don't see it. It's pretty amazing. So I'm gonna go over where this file is right now. Go over to photo, 2020 Francona, YouTube video. It's in TIFFs, it's right next to the negs. Here we go. We can just open this up into Photoshop. Go over to filter, sharpen, smart sharpen, bam. I mean, you can fiddle with the smart sharpen settings, but for now it's working pretty well. But to me, that's pretty rock solid. I mean, to me, that's like done. I mean, the cast on the sky actually works for this image, but again, that was one scan from Silverfast, and it's probably like minutes or about half the time it would take me to do the Negative Lab Pro method, just because I have to go to Lightroom and I have to go over between 2 to 3 softwares. With this, it's pretty much Silverfast and then to Photoshop for sharpening. I mean, again, you can use the unsharp masking in Silverfast, but I've noticed some mess ups with it. Sometimes it leaves lines on the image because it can't read it all the way. But if we just look at these now side by side, you can now see what I'm talking about. This is the Negative Lab Pro scan, where it's just a massive pop, and then this is the Silverfast scan, where it's more of like a natural kind of full color range look. So it really depends on what you're looking for. I mean, I assume you can get this look for Negative Lab Pro, but I haven't really tested it yet. But again, it's just like anything in image making, where there's always like a starting place that you have to come from, and that's why people tend to prefer a certain camera, a certain software, a certain method, because a lot of times people prefer the starting place, or they prefer the feeling of the process. So like for me, I think it's a lot more fun to use Negative Lab Pro, but then also Silverfast, maybe a little more intuitive for like color control and shit like that, but it's really a toss-up. So I mean, I don't know, I hope you got something out of this video. I mean, I hope there's two methods, you now can see which one you kind of would want to prefer. I would recommend to probably move away from Epson Scan. View Scan's not so bad, I was using that recently, but so far Silverfast, for me, Silverfast gets the best positive scans for Negative Lab Pro. Epson Scan, they've kind of like, they just don't really support it as well anymore. Like I'm running on Windows right now, and Epson Scan just completely doesn't recognize my scanner, which is funny because I'm using an Epson. So I had to go over to View Scan, and then eventually I found out I can get Silverfast for free. So I just went, tried that out, and then now here I'm at. So I just think there's a lot of us online shooting film for Instagram and stuff like that. And sure, it's trendy and all that, but at the end of the day, we're shooting photography. We should have our own voice over our images. And I think the process that gives you the most control is probably the best, or the process that gives you your preferred starting point. So do you prefer to start from a naturalistic look like this, or do you prefer to start from more of like an automatic pop, like a BAM film image? So like something like this, people would just scan it like this, and then they would just automatically upload the film. They wouldn't even go in here and adjust things. But yeah, so Silverfast, Negative Lab Pro, I'm gonna be that guy, and I can't give you an answer on it, but that's basically the two ways to get to where you need to get to. As you saw, you have a lot of control on the scanning software, and then of course you can control these images in Lightroom or Photoshop to basically the end of time. So yeah, hope you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one, guys.